since I started to work with watercolors, I've started to take interest in studying them and the pigments that are a part of them. I think this stems from the fact that I like to know what I'm using to paint my pieces. One of the things that fascinates me the most is seeing the myriad of different colors and effects each pigment can create when used, alone or with others. The paints I have with me today are the Mijello Pure Pigment set of 24 tubes, along with the 50+5 Well Bulletproof Studio palette. I had been wanting these two particular items for a while now and was finally able to get them this year. They are quite expensive, so I had to be a bit mindful of this purchase. Either way, today I'll be unboxing these paints and then pouring them in the palette and also swatching each color. One of the things that struck me right off the bat is the packaging. The presentation of these paints made me feel like I was opening some sort of premium art supply with gold accents and the fabric on top of the tubes. It was overall a very pleasant experience to unpack this box. When it came to the studio palette though, the box had come a bit dented, which means it was probably in storage for a long while. But the palette itself was intact and had no damage whatsoever. One of the things that came to mind when opening it was that it was a bit too big, I guess. But after analyzing how much space I would be left with when using it, I was actually quite happy with it because I could use my big brushes just fine in here. It's made out of 3 main areas to mix and little wells, where you can have water for big brushes like my Hake ones. I feel like this palette will surely begin to stain, but that never really bothers me. Now, the palette has 3 different rows of wells where you can pour your paints and organize them how you see fit. Upon researching a bit, I know for a fact that you can pour up to 3 paints in one well alone to achieve convenience colors, but I decided to just pour the paints how I liked. I poured 1 paint per well and left all the Mijello paints on the top part, except for a couple that didn't fit above. Bottom part, I started to pour all my blues from the St. Petersburg White Nights watercolors because blue is my favorite color and pigment and I want to get more blue paints in the future. It's nice having them all in one place too. When it comes to paints, they are usually composed of their binder, components that provide their consistency, and also the pigments that give it color. When it's only just composed of one pigment alone, we could call it pure pigment. And when some colors are composed of different pigments, we can refer to them as convenience colors, which are mostly practical when you don't really want to lose too much time when mixing colors to achieve what you need. Now, I'm not trying to tell you which is better. This will always depend on how each artist likes to paint and work. It also depends on the medium being used, so it's always up to you what paints you like to use. I bought these mainly for my own curiosity and the purpose of experimenting more with colors. Mijello is known for having very vibrant and clean colors, and that is exactly how it felt when swatching these paints. The colors laid out beautifully on the paper and had a stunning glow to them. Now, yes, I did paint the yellow where the white was supposed to be. I noticed there were quite a few warm tones, but the blues that came in it were quite beautiful, so I'm happy with that, and I liked that there were shades of blue that I didn't have. The earth tones, though, were a bit lacking, but I'm not mad about it because I don't use them too much in my work. It is something to have in mind, though. After swatching, I decided to pull out my sketchbook, try to paint a portrait, just to see the types of mixtures I could use with these paints, if I liked the color selection and such. I did a simple sketch of a girl I found on Pinterest. I really liked the combination of the red and the deep blue around the soft tones of her face. I will leave a link for the Pinterest board where I like to keep some of the references I take inspiration from in the description below. The paint spreads beautifully on the paper, and instantly I started to notice how vibrant the colors stayed. With watercolors, most of the paint always dries much more dull than the color initially laid out, which can cause most painting to sometimes lose some of their vibrancy after completely dry. With these, yes, there is some dullness after completely dry, but the colors themselves are already so vibrant that it barely makes a difference after they're dry. Something else I loved as well is the way the colors bled with each other on paper. They create stunning blooms, which I like to have in my paintings for texture, and the granulating effect that some of the paints have is just so pretty. Probably because of them being pure pigmented, the paints have a really natural way to create these effects. One thing I have to say is that I did find myself missing a Payne's Gray because it happens to be one of my preferred darker tones. I use it to make some mixtures neutral, and I use it as my black sometimes as well. So because I didn't have that with these paints, I use the St. Petersburg White Nights Payne's Gray, which isn't pure pigmented. It is the only non-Mijello paint I used, and just because it's always part of my palette, so it truly made a difference when I didn't have it with me. I'm still gaining some confidence back to painting, so the painting process wasn't as smooth as it used to be, but I'm planning on taking more time to paint. The portrait itself wasn't particularly hard, I just wish I had taken some more time to work on the structure of her face, so the eye on the right didn't look so out of proportion. I think it is something I have to improve, is the drawing structure of my portraits, so that the final painting doesn't look so off because of a mistake that could have been prevented. Overall, I really enjoy the painting process of this painting. It helped me break out of my art rut, even if for a little, and because I was still being a bit experimental with the paints, it allowed me to not be so hard on myself. So after trying these out, I have to say I am thoroughly impressed, and I really love the granulation of the colors and how vibrant they are. I like that I was able to achieve so many textures with the granulation. Mijello has really surprised me, and I must say, these might just start being my preferred paints for a while when picking up a palette for painting something final. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and comment. Subscribe to this channel to show some support. And if you like, follow me on Instagram at thelazyartist13 and support me on my Ko-fi account as well. I'll see you next time. Happy creating and take care.